Well, hello there, kids and families. I wanted to give you an update on our new children's director position. We have questions from last Sunday or through the process that we've had, or you don't really know what's going on. In this video, I'm going to be talking about three different things, kind of three little sections. The first, I'm going to update on the role we filled and the process, how we got here. Second, we introduce our children's director, Georgia Kupe. And last, I want to thank Janice for her faithful service to all of us in children's ministry over these last 4 years. As many of you know, we've been prayerfully and diligently seeking to find the right person to serve as our director of children's ministry for a long time. And you say, how long is that? Some of you might even remember back to 2019. That's when Jen Kuchrin was finished her time. And the search for her replacement was supposed to start in the spring of 2020, but we all know that COVID happened and that put the brakes on a lot of things. It paused what was happening. And we've never just thought of this position as like, well, let's find someone to fill it so they can do some work, just because we've wanted to build our team, right? The whole staff team, by adding another person who deeply loves Jesus, understands the importance of nurturing faith in the next generation, desires to creatively partner with you, with families, and has a passion to equip and empower our next generation volunteers. It's worth noting that for the past 5 years, we've been waiting for the right time to post this position. And in that time, we weren't sure who's going to fill this spot, but God has faithfully filled the role with amazing interns that have creatively walked and cared for our families. 3 amazing interns you probably know, but people I love, are Alex Johnson, Darian Atwood, and Janice Simpson. Lots can be said as to why it took 5 years from when COVID arrived to finally posting and then hiring our current children's ministry director. We think back as churches opened up and ministry opportunities increased. We never felt it was the right time to fill the position. There were just things going on. But during this time, for a few years, Darian and then longer, Janice really helped shape our culture and poured into our families. Well, now fast forward to 2024. At this point, Janice has been serving with us as an intern for around 3 years, and we just sensed that God was breaking new ground, preparing the way for us. So we went to work and we asked for feedback and ideas from families in our programs, families that have been in it, key leaders, and we prayerfully took this input and considered what the future of children's ministry could look like. We decided that because Next Gen is so embedded into who we are at South Abbotsford, we needed to have everything on the table in children's ministry and ask the question, what does Jesus desire for us to look like? And how can we best go about representing his beautiful calling on our people, our community, and each one of our own lives? And this question began our process. We started by asking you to partner with us and pray. We posted the job in some really neat evangelical faith circles and areas and web pages. We then interviewed applicants, and then after many thoughtful and careful conversations, had someone that we wanted to offer this position to. I mentioned earlier that this process was longer than we initially anticipated, but we were committed to finding someone who not only has the right skills and experience, but who also shares the heart, vision, and values of our church community. In the waiting, for myself, I learned to trust and seek out how to better discern God's leading rather than just rushing at the speed of Jer. Let's just go with this. Well, I'm sure, though, I stumbled in my trust of God's timing a few times over these 5 years, but it has been filled with learning, reflection, and a deepened trust in God's timing and how he provides. And there's been clarity on how we can serve and meet your needs, our big old church family. I love this idea, big old church family. I don't mean this just in our kids' ministry, as big old church family of those, little chicken nuggets, but as a rich, adopted into kinship with our entire church. I love this idea of church. I love you guys very much because I see this. And so with that idea, we're delighted to welcome and introduce Georgia Kupe, right, to our team as the Director of Children's Ministry. I first met Georgia last year when they moved from Edmonton to Abbotsford in June and found themselves joining us at Summer Blast, VBS, just in a week or two here, and God brought them to us. It's their family, when I think about it, still probably getting to know the lay of the land a little bit, like where do we go? Where is this place? Like, who's that? But during our interviews and in the first week in the office, it's been clear that Georgia is someone special. She brings not only a wealth of passion and dedication, but also a heart that shines with the love of Jesus. The way Georgia listens, encourages, and creatively plans for the future reflects a heart that loves and wants to shine Jesus clearly. It's both inspiring and deeply encouraging, and we're very excited for the journey together with Georgia. So please, be sure to find her, say hi, introduce yourself, and help her feel the love and warmth of our rad South Abbotsford family. Georgia and her family will be here this Sunday, kind of figuring how does this thing work? And make sure you plan to find them. We also want you to be aware that in the next couple of weeks, we're going to make a space for coffee, dessert, one-bite brownies, a gathering time after both services so that you can meet and greet Georgia and her family. We'll update info as we solidify those details. And now the last part, as I said, is a thank you for my friend Janice, because her time with us on staff finished just a little bit ago at the end of April. I've told these things to Janice in person, but I want all of us to remember, and I really think from all of us together, a thank you for the incredible work she's done at our church in the lives of our kids and families. Janice's work with us has been a ministry of love, patience, and she sacrificed much for the kingdom as she served. Janice has been an amazing co-worker on our team, but way more than that, she's my friend and someone that I've learned a lot from. Janice's enthusiasm, hard work, creativity, and faithful service have made a positive and lasting impact on so many of our lives. If you know Janice, it's clear that her heart is truly in everything she does. It has been a joy to witness the way she's helped and shape and uplift our church family. When you're hiring interns to help in a ministry, probably business as well, there is sometimes a little fear you have with who's going to apply. And Lord, is that literally the roster you've given us? We need some more. But from day one, we never worried about Janice. Her contributions have not only made a difference in the ways we run our programs, but more importantly, she's inspired and touched the lives of all of our kids, you and our amazing volunteers. When I think of Janice, I think of the parable of the sower. And for her, it was never important to try and figure out who's the right people and who's the right soil to plant in. Janice heard Jesus say, sow these seeds. Be radical in how you fling them to the wind. Sow everywhere, just like I did. And Janice did. She radically shared Jesus, sowed seeds in everyone she met, and took the time to water, to tend, to prune. And faithfully she prayed for the Holy Spirit to walk beside everyone and help them grow. Janice's leadership, her love and care for all our kids, and her investment into the next generation have never gone unnoticed. And I know that the kingdom of heaven is better because how she's given to the Lord, how she chose to be faithful. I think many of us have learned to love Jesus and love his church more because of the leadership Janice has brought. I had a great conversation with Janice today. She came over before youth, and she plans to continue with us as a volunteer. And I sure look forward to where God is taking her. Right? He's going to carry on to completion those good things he's already started. But the reality is this. With this type of change, there is sadness that goes with it. And so when you see Janice, please go up to her and share how she's loved your family well. Literally grab a real piece of paper, a real pen, and write her a note that you can hand to her and share a story of how she's impacted your family. And for sure, give her a big hug, a bear hug, lift her up off the ground. But don't crack her back. I don't think she likes that. We don't want to bust her up. And then in this season, let's be that big old family that we all need at times and shine Jesus back to her as we thank her for the amazing time we had with her while she was on our staff team. Well, Janice, we love you very much. Thank you.